said, I don't like that idea. I actually think we want there to be the option to make it public. There's some advisors who feel like they should maybe have it private for one reason or the other, whatever, but I feel like if the advisor and the candidate want to have it public for that supportive and sort of that environment, that they should be able to do it. I like the idea of it. We were shocked. Our whole department was like shocked. Every candidate is saying we need a bigger and bigger classroom. And also lots of faculty were showing up. We were having like 40 people at a candidacy exam. 5 or 6 faculty and then all the graduate students. So that was a nice thing to get that person motivated, I thought, for research and software. Now, why are you undergraduates here? You all thinking about becoming one of them? I notice the undergraduates are sitting over here, right? You guys, who's the undergraduates? Are there undergraduates? Oh, there aren't any undergraduates. Okay, so why is this separation here? Are you guys younger than them? How many people are first years? And second years? Second year? And third? We won't go any higher than 5 because we're not allowed, right? Fourth? So you have a nice mix of, that's good, a nice mix of. Okay, so just so I can get, I honestly can't even remember. I sort of remember what it was like when I was here. I think we took 2 years of coursework and then did written exams. Do they do that now?
It varies according to areas. We have 4 areas. And you can exempt some of the qualifying exams by making A's or A minuses in courses, and so things have changed a little bit.
I see that changed.
Yeah.
All I remember was the horrible 3 written exams in 1 week. That's the only place I have that memory from here, and it's not a good one. But yeah, that was not a good one. In fact, my analysis exam was a complete nightmare. I bet Phil even remembers my analysis exam. So this is what I remember. I'll tell you this story. It's really funny. And I don't think the professor's here anymore. Dr. Bach is not here anymore, is he?
Who?
Dr. Bach.
All right, he's not here.
He's not here. Anyway, so I was a really bad analysis student. So it goes to show you that you can actually survive even being bad. I was like a really bad. In fact, he once told me that I was the worst analysis student he'd ever seen. That was a quote from my analysis professor.
I remember you were scared of lim soup in my office. You had no idea.
Yep. And it turned out lim soup came in really important not so long ago
It
in
did.
one of my papers.
Yeah.
I had conquered lim soup, and I felt really good about that. I was like, where is Dr. Bach now? I conquered lim soup, 20 years later. But I do remember him specifically saying that to me. And he didn't say it to be mean. He said it because it was true. It was absolutely, positively true. He said, I've just never seen anybody struggle like you're struggling. And he did not want me to take the second semester of analysis, but I did. And he was like, this girl is just not going to stop. She's just way too persistent. A blessing and a curse. But I remember when I took the analysis fall, there's just one problem on there. And I can remember Phil saying to me after the exam was over, he says to me, which problems did you choose? Because you could choose like 4 of 6, right? There were 6 problems. You could choose 4 of 6. And I said, oh, I chose, these ones. And he goes, you chose that one? And I was like, I did. And I was like, why did you ask me like that? Because he had obviously looked at the analysis exam, knowing how horrible I am in analysis. And he was like, oh, I know in his mind he was thinking, oh my gosh, I wish he hadn't attempted that problem. But it turned out that this was a problem. I remember this. I remember when I got and looked back at the exam, it was a hard problem. And it was a really hard problem. In fact, even Dr. Bach said, I can't believe you got that problem right because you're just not capable. You told this at every place you could. And, but it was amazing to me that I had sort of conquered that. And I thought the written exams were intense and crazy, but somehow it was a small victory for me that I got to the analysis exam. And I remember that one question. I remember thinking, oh, you know what, I could do like a generalized version of the one lemma that I remember from analysis and try to apply it here. And it worked. It was just crazy that it even worked. So. And even Dr. Bach said, I can't believe that method worked. I thought I got one analysis problem in my entire time here. One, and it was the only one that actually mattered in the end. Because I know he always wanted to take off -1 on every single solution I wrote just because he just thought you are horrible at it. So -1 because you're horrible at it. But anyway, that was like my little small victory of written qualifiers. It's a shame, Are they written here though when they do them? Are they written or are they oral?
Yeah, they're written.
They're written.
Yeah. Now the candidacy exam is oral.
And is it an exam environment? Are there questions by
Yeah.
the committee? So,
Well, usually in the candidate exam, the student's been working with the major professor for a while, and they present sort of a topic.
yeah,
But then after say a 40-minute presentation, there are questions, and
do
it's
the public people leave
Well, first of all, there are questions from the public,
Yes,
then the public
same as
leaves,
our format.
and then there's, yeah.
Then there's the actual examiner.
Right.
And typically I mean, maybe I shouldn't be asking this, but typically do people fail at that stage? I mean, is there a system in place if people fail?
People usually pass at that stage.
Yeah. Because you wouldn't really have someone taking a candidacy exam if you thought they were going to fail. Right, is that the joke?
Right, they've been working on it for at least, usually a year.
Usually a
Yeah,
year.
that's the same exact format. We have exactly the
Yeah.
same format.
Have you ever known anyone to fail that? In pure math, I don't.
Sometimes they get a second chance. I've known
You know,
cases
then
where
they
they
get a
didn't
second,
pass, but they got a second chance.
Yeah.
And is there a course that leads up to that? Like, is it?
No.
Yeah.
No, they just work with the professor.
And that person that advises them to the candidacy exam, is that they're going to be their formal advisor, or is it
Usually.
formal at that stage?
Usually. Unless
Usually,
something
that's who.
strange happens.
And they don't become their formal advisor until they pass candidacy,
Yeah,
but
that's what. So it's
yeah.
the same exact structure as ours. I was just curious.
Yeah.
So how many people don't have an advisor yet? Probably the first year still. So the first and second year still. Are you scared about becoming an advisor? Have you heard all the rumors? What's that?
Well, now.
Now you are?
why don't you talk about, yeah, we were talking in the car on the way here a little bit about how you choose an advisor. Why don't you talk about that a little bit?
How
That's,
do you choose an advisor? So I can remember when I was here, there were different graduate students, and we had this conversation. This is the funny thing, now that I'm on the other side of it, and I'm a faculty member, I forget that when I was a graduate student, what actually happened. The graduate students talk to graduate students, faculty talk to faculty, and never the two shall meet, right? Like, we're supposed to read your mind, you're supposed to read our mind. I find this is why this OGSM, we don't have to read their mind. They're constantly sending the graduate director, which is me, notes and memos from every one of their meetings. I no longer have to read minds. I know every single thought the entire group is having, which is probably more than I've ever wanted to know. But I think when it comes to choose, so for example, our OGSM said what we really want from the faculty is a list of faculty that are willing and want to have students. So that's the first thing, is you got to know, who am I picking from? Who are the people in your department that actually want graduate students? Right? I mean, there are some that might not be doing that anymore. Do you know the difference between the two? So that's an important piece of information to have. Is what is the list of people I'm choosing from? Right? Some of it's just based on rumor. Like, oh, this person hasn't has a graduate student in 10 years, therefore they're not taking any more. That might not actually be true. We just had a senior member of our department take on a graduate student for the first time ever. And he is 65. And he just handpicked our brightest graduate student right out of the pack. Our brightest first-year student. We were all like, what? Even I was shocked, and he's my colleague. So you don't really know. You need to figure out who that list is. And you also need to, so another thing that they systematically do, our graduate students do, is they pick 3 or 4 of the possibles, and they interview them, which I think is so funny. It's like the cutest process ever. Like, from my point of view, it's really funny. But I said to them one day, what are you looking for? Like, why are you interviewing me? And what is it that you want to know from me? Do you really want to know about my math? Do you want to know about how I am as an advisor? How I am as a person? How bad and mean am I going to be to you? What is it that you want to know? So they were like, actually, we want to know a little bit of all of that. So the math, they've seen me do, because I always give, every year I give some expository thing about geometric group theory to our grad students, to our incoming grad students, so that they know which areas of research are represented in the department. We get somebody from each area to give a talk in the OGSM seminar. Just a 30-minute power, you can do a PowerPoint if you want, you can have lunch with them, whatever.
we do that in the spring.
Yeah, so you know what the possible mathematical areas are. That's only the very sort of first level, I think, of choosing an advisor. Once you're in an area, you want to think about what circumstances do you work well under. Are you the kind that wants an advisor that's a taskmaster that says, I want you to do something every single week, I want you to come in with something written every week, I want you to tell me what problem to work on? Again, it's a self-awareness thing. Or maybe you don't know the answer to that question and you need to hear it from a few places. Maybe you're the kind that wants to be friends with your advisor. Or maybe you're the kind that doesn't want to be friends with your advisor. There's so many different things to think about in the dynamics of the relationship with your advisor. That it's worth having a conversation with a potential one before you agree to be their student and before they agree. It can be something as crazy as, hey, I really like that person. I might not even really care about the math they do. They'll make it interesting just because I like the way they talk about math. There are people who choose an advisor based on that. And then there's some that say, you know what, I want a famous person, I don't care what they do, I don't care if they're a jerk, I want the most famous person in the department to be my advisor. Definitely people that choose an advisor solely based on that. Or, I want to be, I know that this is the math I love and I don't care who the possible choices are. I'm going to pick an advisor on paper and I'm going to do everything independently. So that's a very important question as to what are you looking for out of that experience and finding somebody, again, so that, I was always told I was a little bit crazy this way to say, I always think about me, like me first. What am I getting out of this? What is going to be best for me? How am I going to be most successful? And I think picking an advisor is exactly the same way. That you, talking to a few, even just a 15-minute conversation over coffee, you'll learn a lot about that person and how they will be as an advisor. I tell all my grad students, you have to be independent to work with me. My schedule is insane. You're not getting more than an hour a week from me. I will not be a taskmaster. If you need that, I'm the wrong person for you. But if you're really excited about math and you want to know where to go in literature and what places to talk at, I'm your person. Like, I know the literature better than most people do. I have like a photographic memory of every paper I've ever read. And if I don't know something, I'm the first one to say, I don't know it, but I know where to find the answer. That's the kind of advisor I am. I want you to find your own mathematics problem. I don't want to give you one of mine, because I'm the one who's interested in that. If you want one, I have done it where I've worked on a problem with a student before, but I prefer if a student finds their own. Those are the kinds of questions you might want to think about for yourself and ask when you're thinking about picking an advisor. What kind of experience do I want? Do I just want to get a PhD and get out of here, or what is my goal here? Scary? Is that now you even more scared? At least you could get a few free cups of coffee out of it, right? You can say you invite a professor for coffee, they should pay. In fact, at Tufts we have a program that if a professor and a student go to coffee at the same time, they both get their drinks for free. When I became graduate director, it was the first thing I brought back to the department. I said, this is the single most important announcement that you will ever get from me as the graduate director. The Spirit Fund. We all get free coffee. And I was told it was the best announcement I ever made as graduate director. The best email I ever wrote. All right, other questions? I don't know what time we're supposed to end, probably pretty soon, but are other questions? Or you guys all look really quiet. I bet you're not always this quiet.
It is the end of the day.
There you have it. So it would be bad to start asking all of your questions now. All right, well, thanks for listening.